I am a predator.
This is Mike Predator006 with CardRunners.com. Welcome to a live sit and go session. I am currently playing a group of turbo sit and goes on PokerStars, and the session ranges, I've signed up for everything between $60 and $16 with efforts of just keeping them going. My goal is to not only show you guys some live play situations, what I do in certain types of phases of these sit and goes, but also to go through some of the optimal winning strategies in these games. As you notice, I am in the early stages of these two, and I'm coming close to getting to the later stages in the two on the left. I will most likely replace these two on the left with another two should they get going anytime quickly. So, a lot of people will ask whether it's a cash game or sit and go what the optimal style is for these. Now, the thing is about sit and goes, you look at a tight aggressive style, you're gonna see that. You're looking at a loose aggressive style, you'll see that. You'll see a tight weak style, you'll see a loose weak style. There's going to be a combination of a lot of different types of ways that we're going to be playing. And let's go ahead and get out of that one, and another one should start very shortly. So in the early stages of these sit and goes here on the right, and the one that's going to pop up here in a second, we are going to play an extremely tight and weak style, and I consider early stages of sit and goes to be until the blinds get up to be about 5,100. Now, or that we also consider our M. If we happen to get short stack, we'd move on to a later stage and a different type of style in throughout the sit and go. But our goal in this stage is actually to get to the second phase with over 1,500 chips. So even when I have huge hands, whether it's whether I'm in position or the ability to 3-bet with a hand, I'm typically going to play very passively, because not only you'll hear myself as well as Dan Deppen tell everybody that PLO8 is such a flop-dependent game, and hand equities run so close, and how it's a huge contrast to No Limit Hold'em, because you can't really get all in as an 80-20 favorite pre-flop. So, with these huge hands we're not raising, we're taking advantage of hitting stacks post-flop. So we want to hit, most likely get at least half, if not 3/4 of the full pot once we decide to go with it. And this is an easy hand to just check fold to somebody that raises from the small blind like that. Whether they have ace-ace or ace-2, we're in pretty bad shape versus both. And I will go ahead and move the one that's getting later, so we have 4 that are relatively early starting. And the aggressive guy with the ace-2-2 is gone to a flop set. That's terrible to call limp pre-flop, much less call that once he opens for raising for pot from the small blind. So I say that I not only don't I raise, is I typically won't 3-bet huge hands unless, because 3-bet you're pretty much telegraphing what you have in a sit and go. Unless there's a raise and a couple callers, then if I have the potential to get stacked pot ratio of 1 post flop, where I'm going to be betting any flop, I'll typically hold off on 3-betting till later stages of sit and goes. It is a very valuable tool in PLO8, and I do use it often. Isolating short stacks, etc. But we're not going to be doing it in these early stages of sit and goes. Chip chip accumulation isn't as important in PLOA as it is in most other sit and goes. That's why if I get to the second round, second phase to mid blind level with a halfway decent stack, I consider myself to be in contention to win it. So here we flop of the third nut flush with a low out there. I will be folding to any bet. Typical hands that I will limp with or even call an opponent's preflop raise in these early stages are something to the effect this in late position I may play this, early position it's a pretty clear fold for me. Um, but some of the hands that I'm typically doing this with are going to be most ace-ace hands, especially since I'm going to have some pot control and keep the pot small and play it pretty passively. I'm going to be limping in with almost any ace-ace, if not any. I'm going to be playing a lot of aces with a 2 or a 3, especially if they're suited. I'm more than willing to fold bad ace threes and even awful ace twos. Something like an ace 2 2 9 or that's extremely weak. But we're going to go ahead and be able to fold bad ace twos and ace threes. We're going to be playing any ace wheel card with a high pocket pair, for example, like an ace 3 jack jack or something like that. We're going to be willing to limp with that or call a raise. Any ace 2 3 we're going to be playing. And combination hands like ace 3 with 2 high cards like an ace 3 jack queen or something. Those are going to be those are going to play really well post flop and hit a lot of flops also. So those are some of the typical hands that are in my range in these early stages. When the blinds are extremely low, I don't mind playing some of your high rundowns and high pocket pairs, your king king queen jack and your queen queen jack 10, etc. Your king king 2 4s. Our strategy changes with these hands once we get into deeper stages of the sit and go. But in the early stages, if the blinds are 15-30 or even 25-50, if you get a couple callers, especially, they're good to play. But I don't have as great of a appreciation for the value of these hands in sit and goes as I do in cash games. Chips are too important to hold on to uh, than to play speculative hands like that. Very important thing that a lot of novice players neglect is the fact that if we flop the nut low draw and we have no high potential, it is more than okay folding. If we have a hand like Ace 2 King Jack and the flop is like 6 8 Queen, we can get out of that hand no problem, and I don't think twice about calling if somebody happens to bet with it. I'm calling behind here. I think he can bet his an extremely wide range, and he should bet any time here, knowing that I can't really call. So it was a good play by this guy here. And we're gonna check call and surprised he didn't bet there really. And I talk about it's not as important to accumulate chips. As you can see, I'm not overly concerned. I've lost 250 chips, 230 chips on these two tables. I'm not really concerned about my stacks on either of those. I'm going to continue with the moderately tight weak style until my M may get below 7 or so, or the blinds are increasing. The effective stack sizes are to have an M around 7. And that 7 is kind of the magic number for me personally to move on to the second stage as sit and goes. And a lot of times that the range of the blinds in the second stage is going to be 50, 100, and 75, 150, somewhere around there. So, we'll continue that. And the thing about the second phase, the mid blind play, is our style is extremely dependent on our stack size, and I'll go into more about that once we get into some of that play into that stage. We have someone isolating here. Um, and it was a min isolate. I'm going to go ahead and just call. And I'm going to bet out a lot on the flop. Not a lot of money, but a lot of time. Oh, half us have sixes. And I get double counterfeited. As far as pre-flop, should I 3-bet? If I were shorter or this threat was shorter, I'd be more than willing to 3-bet for my stack here. But seeing that there was plenty of play left post-flop, I chose to just call there. And I've got such a huge hand, all in equity, heads up against the short stack here. Ivanovich. Congrats. He took second, I believe, in a PLO 8 W Coupe recently. I was able to play both the PLO 8 and the second chance recently. I did double cash. I didn't get too deep in either of them. I made it about halfway through the cashing stage on both. We're just going to check behind here. Looking at stack sizes here, I'm still going to limp. And fold. And fold. Going to replace one of these with 100 that's just starting. Let's go ahead and do it with this one down here. The majority of the time we're going to be splitting here. I rarely think I'm getting scooped. He's either going to have like a 2-3 hand or two pair. Um, Sometimes even 5-6, and my 2-5 is going to be good for a low, and I could be free rolling him to hit my boat. We got a couple very very good players in this 100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think he's good. We still have plenty of chips to just limp here. If somebody behind us raises, if it's this guy, I would probably 3-bet him for my stack. If he just calls, I'm going to raise all in. Somebody that limp calls, my range should be ahead of. If he tries to isolate me, he probably is about, I'm flipping a coin with him. And let's just do it now. I'm a huge favorite against him. Now, he's a pretty decent favorite. Hey. And I scoop. So now we have a choice here. Do we want to 3-bet for our stack? He's never folding. He could easily have a better low, and say he had ace-2 king or ace-2 queen. I'm in pretty bad shape against those two hands. I'm going to go ahead and just fold there. I'm putting on the insta check here with the intentions of, if it was check to me, to get him to bluff at it. And if he happened to bluff at it, I have got a bluff catcher here, and I would go ahead and call him. Should he bluff? Should he bet last act? This is close to a lead. I think I may do it now. Not too many hands can call me here, and it's a good opportunity to take it down. As we get into, well, we should be doing this in every stage, but as we get into the later stages, middle play, uh, like we are approaching in this sit and go, uh, you always have to have a plan. If you choose to limp, are you going to call if a certain player raises? If you choose to raise, do you have equity if certain players 3-bet you? So you always have to have a plan, and you need to know what you're going to do in certain situations. So I'm going to lead this to try to get him off the hand. if he happens to go with it, I'd be willing to. My hand is ahead of his range 75% of the time here. He has aces. Is he going to call me? Kings. Well, that didn't work out. And let's bring one over. That was an interesting play by him to stay in the hand on my flop bet. These combination hands, something that we're doing in the second stage of sit and goes is this isolation play with shorter stacks. It's a huge way to kind of exploit the sit and goes. You get dead money in. You're flipping a coin most likely at worst. I'm slightly ahead here. I'm really ahead now that we. Oh, his four. Oh wow. Um, but I got in as a small favorite, and I flopped an amazing hand. He didn't really have too many outs other than the four, which gave me the low. But uh, that's something that I do quite often is isolate with the short stack when they raise like that. And the thing is about a hand like this, these combination hands play great when you're talking about playing for stacks because they hit so many flops. They hit flops that have low potential, high potential. You've got the suit there. I'd much rather play this type of hand than say an ace 2 4 5 or something like that, where you have to in those type of hands you have to hit the flop to be able to make money, and you don't have the implied odds in sit and goes in these turbo sit and goes to play those type of hands for a raise. So if somebody fold raised here and I had ace 2 3 4, I have no problem dumping it. When we get short like this, we look for someone to consider. This is on the low end of my range with the blinds so early. I'm going to play it. Um, we look for somebody to raise where we can isolate and we can not isolate, but we can get all in against someone with some protection. So if he happened to raise pot, it would look a lot stronger, and people would be more likely to fold should should I insta call with my hand. Here our M's getting low enough where we'd be able to raise and call an all in and have the odds to do so post flop. Again, we are going to open. That he did it. I'm actually going to just smooth call, especially with the ace 2 3 because I've got counterfeit protection for a low draw. Um, I wish the 10 was a little bit higher. There's no need to 3-bet here because he's going to bet into us on every flop, and we just need to consider if we have the odds to call him. Should we flop a low? A lot of times we'll hit a 2 or a 3 and with a low draw, and it'll give us the potential to get 2 pair or something like that. So, and these hands play well 3-handed. So, as you can see here, I'm getting in really good 3-handed. We just don't want to see a 2. I don't get overly worried when it gets to be when I get to be extremely short stack like this. I do look for opportunities to get in and get heads up against somebody, even with a somewhat weak hand. I'm gonna fold this under the gun, especially with a tough lineup. That hand probably doesn't play that well against somebody that's willing to to raise. So I either need to be aggressive and choose to go all in there, or I need to fold. So I'm not going to risk my tournament life right there. So just to kind of summarize, the middle blind play uh, is the decisions we make are stack dependent, and we are always looking to get all in with combination hands and isolate short stacks. We've got a plan. We're three betting big hands where we didn't do that in phase one, especially if we can get uh, the stack to pot ratio to be in the 1 to 2 range. Next phase I had plans to talk about is what we do when we are approaching the bubble. We'd be willing to call anybody that raises here, even a multi-way pot. We prefer that somebody raise and get heads up. So we flop a huge wrap here. Do we want to lead or do we want to check raise? In this situation, if he checks to us, I am going to lead. I prefer to take it down without getting any further, but if somebody shows some pressure against us, I don't mind my hand. Flop top two, see if they hold up. Maybe somebody with the nut low is going to bet everybody that has high potential out of the hand. I'd be willing to go with this should someone... The most likely hand I'd be up against is two pair. It's really going to be a set here. Hey, that's good. I think it's okay to raise here if it's folded to me. Is with the fold equity, with the 300 chips do matter quite a bit to me right now. And he's not going to call too wide of a range. This is kind of close, a little bit better, and I'd have no problem raising there. That's a good hand, but we still have some equity. Hit a pair and nope. All right, bringing over 60. Not quite. Hopefully we can get to some sit and goes that I can demonstrate some later blind play, bubble play, and shorthanded and heads up play. We have a choice here. A min raise typically won't be an ace-ace. My hand plays well against any ace-2 other than ace-2-3. how I play this hand is really dependent on my stack size. If I had a little less, I'd go with it. If I had a little bit more, I'll call. If I'm in a middle range, it's probably a decent thing to fold. I'm going to go with it in this situation and see what happens, because I really don't put somebody on ace-ace that min raises in early position. And then he min 3-bet me, or 4-bet me. So I don't play that badly against this type of hand. I've got the low draw and the heart draw, and that kind of... Oh, no heart draw. So looking at this hand, I actually get in with great equity. Unfortunately, he had my hearts covered, which kind of hurts. And bringing over and willing to call. Anytime I raise in that situation, I'd be more than willing to call. And I happen to flop a straight. So as we get into bubble play, what we're really going to be focused on is abusing ICM principles. Depending on our stack sizes, where the other stack sizes are relative to us, we are going to, in a situation where we're a big stack, we're going to try to whittle down somebody to be a short stack, and then put a lot of pressure on the middle stacks. We're, even to the point of isolating a short stack to try to keep them in the game. If this is folded, I'm going to raise here. If it was raised to me, I would have folded. This is close here. Being that we're on the bubble, I'd be willing to call a re-raise here. I'm going to raise, and I've got tons of fold equity. A lot of people aren't going to get involved with everyone having an even stack size here. We do flop 2-pair. We have a decent stack size. We're never going to get in as a huge favorite here. He's either going to fold or he's going to have a flush draw and he's going to call me. And that couldn't be that bad of a thing. It's not time yet. He's a good player. And I think he would lead small for a flush draw, with a flush draw. I guess he felt that he had the equity to call his raise. I think that was a pretty bad lead right there. If this 9 was 6 or under, 5 or under probably, I would raise with it. So, another thing is a concept that a lot of people don't fully understand is if you're a shorter stack, you don't want to raise with a more of a weak equity hand against the larger stack. Say I was Julian here, I'd want to put pressure on Cigar rather than any of the people with a few more chips, because the taking chips from somebody that is even with you when you're a shorter stack is much more valuable, especially in PLO 8 where you're going to get called a lot more often. We flop a huge hand here against MDD GFC, who's an excellent player. Let's go ahead and dunk bet and see if we can get him to do anything here. now that we're in the money, looking at our stack sizes, we are going to raise a ton on the button. Because Cigar's not going to get involved with us without a big hand because he doesn't want to lose half of his stack. And this person seems to be playing pretty passively, so we're going to try to take advantage of that. I'm going to go ahead and fold here. An under the gun raise by an excellent player. I'm not going to really be ahead of, so it's okay to fold, even though it looks kind of pretty to be able to fold that. See, even with that type of hand, he'd have a hard time calling my raise, knowing that I'd be committing my stack if I raise pre-flop. And he's going to be folding every time with that hand. If he limps, I'm insta-raising. I will be shoving this hand if it was folded to me. It doesn't play well against somebody who's willing to commit their stack. I can't let this round go by without raising here. I don't think that he's ever going to have anything other than a low draw here. And I have to call here with the open-ended straight draw. I'm never going to get anyone to fold. I may as well see if I get a... Wonderful. I was too involved to get away there. So let's look at the stack sizes up here. Let me pull out another one here. So in this situation, we are going to be raising on our button a lot because he's not going to want to get involved with us. We should be raising from the cutoff quite often. I'm not going to 3-bet this. I would have raised if it was folded to me. Our decision is for... It's interesting how much more passive this is than some of the smaller stakes sit and goes. We're at 150, 75, 150, and no one's out yet. You don't see that too often in the lower ranges. We will be folding to any raise, including this person. If he limps in, we will instantly raise. Whenever we're not the big stack, whenever we play a hand, we must be willing to play for our stacks. If we raise anything pre-flop, if we get 3-bet, we have to call. So it's, the situation, if I happen to raise him and I put, right now it'd be 1,400 chips in the pot, I've got to go with it should he 3-bet me. So I've got to have enough equity to be able to do that. This is a terrible hand. We're never going to be limping anymore in the bubble phase. If everybody had 3,500 and the blinds were still relatively low, I may consider it. But there's too much fold equity and too many chips in the pot typically to be able to limp pre-flop with anything. If I had the naked ace, I'd be betting this flop. Unfortunately, I don't. Somebody over here has it. This is maybe one of those situations where I may raise fold. He's not going to 3-bet me unless he has an excellent hand, and he's rarely ever going to call. And I should open here also, and the hand actually cooperates with me. I wish I could show that. Later position, I'd be shoving with this. I'm going to go ahead and fold it right now. He can't call with this short stack. Can't do it. Of course, it's only 800. He should. So if he raises, we're going to 3-bet him. We're actually going to raise pot here, and we're going to be betting any flop. Hopefully he'll fold. That'd be wonderful. Ace 2. Just a pair of 10s. Come on, hold 2 pair. And did I scoop? He has better 2 pair. We're checking behind here. We're never, and now we're going to shove this. He's going to fold and he's going to fold. We're never scooping here. We're just going to check behind and hope the board pairs. Hey, a pair of 6s. So we've got an ace, 3 5s, 3 7s, 3 8s. We've got 10 outs. Let's do it. That 2 is actually good for our hand, except for the fact that it's a spade. We're going to play extremely aggressive when we get heads up with someone. You know, if the blinds are 300, 600, I'm willing to raise a majority of my buttons. Because you need to, especially at the beginning of heads up play, you need to start out aggressive and see if your opponent's laying down too many hands. 5. So, or okay, I thought he had 2 pair. Wonderful. So what are we willing to call or 3-bet with when our opponent raises? Pretty much somewhere in the top 33% of hands I'm going to be doing it with. This is pretty big here. I'm not going anywhere. Do I want to just call or do I want to raise here is the question. And with the pair, maybe I could push out someone with an ace 3-7 and have potential to win the high if he also has ace 2. And I'm going with this either way here. Hopefully it's folded to me. No, he had a straight. Don't ace me. That's a good card. Well, here goes. My hand plays well multi-way, because I have counterfeit protection if the ace or a 2 comes. Oh, that's beautiful flop. Heart me. Heart me. That's a great example of how much that 4 helps my hand having that counterfeit protection. Neither of these guys had it, and with that type of flop, that's exactly what we're looking for. I like the shove and I like the call with these hands. That's amazing that that kind of held up there. Not amazing, but we still have enough chips to where we can go one more blind round and then start to raise even if we're down to, 1400-ish and put pressure on these guys. This is kind of close. He's going to raise. Never ahead there. I will be raising if it is folded to me here. I expect to call almost half the time, but that 50% of the time that he doesn't call, I get 450, and the half the time that he does, I'm rarely a huge underdog. So now, coming up, I will be opening 2 out of these next 3 hands, unless my hands are just awful. That's more than enough to be all in with, especially if it's folded to me. If somebody opens, I don't think I can call. It's a good play by him. 2-6 is going to beat the low, and no 5 or queen. Do it again. And this will hopefully show the power of the situation and ICM issues, and I should open here with a majority of hands too. And by doing this, it puts me in a great position to continue in the sit and go, but also if somebody 3-bets me, I'm never going to be a huge underdog. So it's worth taking the shot to win the 450 chips that are out there. Especially since everybody's been playing kind of tight and passive in this thing. He's going to bet into me any flop. Ooh, I get him bad. Queen 10. Yeah. And no low hit. I think I have to call these guys. I have to fold to these guys probably. He should open with almost any 4 cards. I'm surprised he folded there that quickly. I'm putting pressure on him with a short stack, and I've got a call. No ace, please. No low. No heart. No 3. No 6. No 8. It's the right play to do by both of us. He's not going to be able to call too often. Obviously, at a very good hand. I should still keep my wide opening range to win this 450. That's probably a little too wide. Now, I can't do it this next hand because I know he's going to call with any 4 cards. So I've got to actually have a hand that plays well, has good all-in equity to be able to raise pre-flop after this uh, after this hand. Here's one of the examples of early stage play that I'm going to limp with. It's great that these people came in. You know, in this situation, I actually like to min raise just in case I hit. I'm risking 30 more chips for the potential to win a lot more. Someone with the naked ace is going to bluff me off. Let's go ahead and check. A lot less likely somebody has a flush. If somebody happened to raise here, I'm going to call them. I will be 3-betting here for my stack with any player that raises. It's terrible that he called and now he's potting. I think he rarely has the flush. I'm going to 3-bet and isolate this guy. I'm going to look to, on the bottom left, I'm going to look to take advantage of positions where I can steal some chips. This hand does not play well against somebody for their stack. I can't call there. Multi-way, if it was 4 or 5-way, I'd be happy to go with it, but it's not a good situation. No matter what happens here, I am all in with this hand. And I should be raising a majority of my hands on the next one too. I cannot call there, no matter what anybody does. Even if he raised, I cannot call here. We would have preferred that the chip leader took him from us. We will be folding here. We have more value in trying to steal with a halfway decent hand than we do to play a mediocre hand for stacks against somebody that shows aggression. Even something like this, it's a hand that I'm going to raise. So much fold equity, free 600 chips, and if he raises, I have the equity to call, pot odds to call. I'm not going to usually be ahead. This one's kind of close. That made my decision easy. But there's value in raising there. Kind of what we wanted to see. We didn't want him to get away with it. Something will resolve itself here. Look what he opened with. That's about right. And practically drawing dead to a low draw. We want him to raise. We don't want him to be in the hand. Got a low draw. And got counterfeited by the 6. Good situation for me to raise there. Well, no 4s, no diamonds. Don't do it to me, please. No clubs, jeez. Good game. I don't do that any differently. Okay, so I just min raise and I got 2 callers behind. I'm ne I'm not in a good position here. I'm gonna fold. He's got a 3-4, 3-5, 3-4, higher 2 pair. Good choice. I don't let too many people limp from the small blind. If he has it, I fold. Obviously. This is a little early for me to be raising like that. Just so you know, I'm not. If he goes all in, he's gonna have at least a king and a flush draw, I would think. So it's probably not that great of a play. Uh, if I can recall, a couple people limped in the pot before I did it, so that was my reasoning there. If I was in position, I would bet this flop, um, and I probably could have done it right now. But when you're in position and you bet it, most likely if somebody called with something halfway decent, um, they'll check to you on the turn, and we could decide whether we want to go for our low. I'm going all in here, hoping that there are a couple aces out, and at least 1 or 2 of these guys may fold. I like it. He should fold or re-raise here every time. He should never call, and he'll call because he has odds to. And I'm going with this. I'm actually I'm gonna just call here. That's terrible. Well, no, he had odds to, and he's got a low draw. No diamond. Now these players may think that I'm trying to play a little passively because there's a guy that's all in, but I'm not going anywhere here. Now here, if he's got me, I've got to hope my low draw is good, I guess. I can't fold anymore here. And I do have the low here, luckily. Ace 4, 10, 10, King, King, 9. He's got 2 pair. I need to counterfeit him somehow. He bowed it up. Alright. So we are on the button on the bottom right. looking at the stack sizes and the blinds are relatively low to be on the bubble. We are in a good spot with him sitting right behind us to be able to open quite frequently. If this guy if we notice he may have the tendency to three bet, we may not want to do it. But we're just risking 700. Well, now we've got two short stacks. If the big, okay, if he would have raised, I would have called. I'm not going to three bet there. If it's folded to me, I will shove. It's not worth trying to steal 300 from this big stack. Top two. I can't call him here. I can bet this. I can and will min bet. Okay, here's one of those awkward situations here with my stack size and what the blinds are. If I had a little less, I'd probably, if I had about 12, 1300, I think I'd raise with, not from early position. It's the right thing to do to call here in most situations. And we are ahead right now. No 5. I had it on auto fold here, but this is worth a limp. So we're heads up against a pretty big stack, but the blinds are really low right now. We're going to donk bet, hope to get raised, not hope to get raised, hope to get called, and then slightly increase the bets every time to push him off the hand, and then pow on the river, and hope to push him off with our one-way hand. I will be raising here. I'm going with it. I think I'm going with it. Yeah, I'm going to go with this. Ace 2 3, Ace 2 King, and Ace 3 King are the only things I'm really worried about. And he could be opening lighter because this guy's... Okay, I'm in as a pretty big favorite here. That's not a good flop. Low? That's a shame. See, you almost have to wonder if it's worth flipping coins. That was an accident. Worth flipping coins with somebody. You know, with when you have the potential to take it down. I'm gonna call here and I was gonna bet most turns, but I'm not gonna do that one. I'm hope he checks behind me. Well, I kind of hit a flop. Alright, we're going to chip up and win this one on the bottom right here. So he just min raised. You know, with the blinds this low, min raises will work a little bit better than when the blinds are high. I would never recommend doing it when the blinds are high. I've got a I'm going with it with two pair here. Uh, well, I don't think that was awful. I'll probably let me think a little bit more about what I did there and discuss that in the forum. It was a decision I should have made on the flop. Um, Having a pair with a gut shot and on that too high flop with not much low potential for either of us. I have to consider he had a high hand too, but um, it's close. On this one, I like the protection he's given me, so I'm calling. These guys are going to have a hard time calling here, and I have a chance to quadruple up. This bottom one here will probably be the last one that I'll do. We're getting pretty short stacked in all these. And we're in terribly here. But we had 400 chips, so we had to do it. Alright, approaching the bubble on the bottom right, we have one big stack and a medium stack. Should we choose to raise, we want to put pressure on these two guys, with all other things being equal. If I have a similar hand, I'd rather put pressure on these guys than these guys. You know, I did that very quickly. The blinds are relatively low, but with this guy being in the big blind, I chose to do it there. I'm gonna bet my open it. No, yeah, I'm gonna bet. That's unfortunate. Oh, both of them had me killed. Jack, maybe? Hmm. Alright. Well, our situation, we can open up to 525 and call a re-raise. This is another awkward stack size. We don't want to just limp. Um, I think it's the right play to fold here. And unfortunately, seeing what happened, we could have probably gotten away with a raise. We like to see a multi-way pot here. And we miss. Chose to do the a sit and go video, tournament video, because there's been a lot of feedbacks requesting it. I'm also considering how to do an MTT video, so I may do a review of um, one of my MTTs, or also may sit in with a student and review one of his, as I did on stocks. It was relatively popular, and I work with Alex on it, so I'm gonna consider how to get an MTT series coming in here on PLO 8. He's got 586 chips. And we're going to go with this one also. It's not a bad thing, the fact that I only had enough chips to raise small. That's terrible. Low's coming. And let's wait for a halfway decent hand that has equity combination hand type. I may call if somebody raises here. Yeah, he was wearing a Bob Sanders jersey. Thought he may be from Indy, as am I. You'll see that somebody that limps rarely calls when you raise, and if you have a hand that can play well post flop, an above average, maybe a top 30 or 40% hand, you should probably raise from the blind here. This is close. It wouldn't have worked out in this situation, but it was close to be able to open with. Well, unless everybody folded, which they probably would have. Oh, king high one. Well, I need to consider that it's either this hand or the next hand. I'd rather have a little bit more of a hand that has equity all in than this. And I'm not totally pressured to do it next hand, but I should do it with the top 50% of my hands. If we look at what the last couple I had, I should do it with that one. That one, yes. Probably. Yes. Probably. Yes. No. That's probably one that I'd fold. Yes. Yes, probably. This would be a good one to do it in. It's pretty poor hand. I'm gonna take a shot. I hope to get 3-bet isolated here by somebody with anything. I don't want to play this 3 or 4 handed. Hopefully somebody will think that I'm weak, and oh, that worked out. Well, we know what he likes to play, so he's going to be calling. Hey. Oh well. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off now, and finish this one up on my own. I hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free. I am very active in the forums. Please feel free to comment on any hands that I played, or if you need anything clarified. This is Mike6, cardrunners.com. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed.